So welcome back, guys. So today, it's taking a longer time than usual to start this video. So today I wanted to talk about Australian cattle dogs and children, and it seems to be like a 50-50 opinion about whether or not they're good with kids online. And that's basically based on people's experiences. So, and that's mostly what this video is going to be based off as well, is my experiences with cattle dogs and kids. So cattle dogs can be really great with children, especially if you are socializing and training them when they're very young. When they're puppies, if you have young kids at home, it's not that hard or difficult, in my opinion, to have them grow up with your children and then be okay being around kids. Sorry, I'm distracted by Sully like always. But does that mean all cattle dogs will be good with all children if they're good with the ones in your household? Absolutely not. And do I recommend cattle dogs for all families of America? Definitely no. No matter what dog breed you bring home, kids and dogs can be a challenge no matter what breed it is. But I think it's especially challenging with cattle dogs because most people have a hard enough time figuring out how to train the herding and the nipping away from themselves, let alone training it away from children. Kids are just more difficult, I think, because kids like to run. I've said it before and I will say it forever. I really think cattle dogs view children as little cattle running through the world because they respond differently to them, especially if they're outside children, like they're not the ones like that they know or the ones that are in their actual home. You know, kids can also like randomly scream like banshees for no reason, or if they scream out of excitement, or they make weird noises. And sometimes cattle dogs will go into berserk velociraptor mode because they don't know what the child's doing. They don't understand the crazy, and they get freaked out like when kids do weird things. I've seen it with all my healers. Like, kids just do some weird stuff and they don't know how to react sometimes. I mean, honestly, I don't know how to react sometimes. Most people get cattle dogs and then they realize how much work they are. So when you get a cattle dog and you have kids, you are now training not just the dog, but you should be training your child as well. I really wish people would involve their children more in dog training, especially if you have older kids. If they're like toddlers or, you know, just little babies, obviously they're not going to be doing dog training. Well, some might. I've seen some pretty impressive toddlers. But, you know, older children are very capable of learning dog training and listening to what they're supposed to be doing with the dog. And I always think you should be supervising your kids with your dogs. I don't think you should ever leave especially a puppy, especially a cattle dog puppy, alone with your children. I think it should always be supervised. And I think that's like the biggest mistake people make. They think that they can just leave the dog, and this is with any breed. I see it all the time with any breed. Like, they just leave the dog with the child, and then the dog always gets blamed for if it snaps or whatever. And using a slip lead leash to help train the dog while it's learning how to be around children in your home, there's nothing wrong with that. I've talked about that a few times on this channel, like keeping your puppy on a slip lead. Of course, supervised, always supervised, like, because they can easily get tangled. That way, if the dog starts chasing the child, you know, you can correct them while they're on that slip lead, or run them in a different direction and tell them, no, we're going to go run after this instead and not run after the child. There's things you can do. And if you're like me and you don't have children of the human variety, you can always ask your friends if they'll be willing to train and socialize your dog with their kids. All my healers, I've used all my friends' children. I've had them come over. I've gone to visit their houses. And, you know, every cattle dog I have has been different when it comes to kids. Silver's always been the motherly type dog. She's loved all children, but she was also raised in a home with 4 children before we took her. So I think that helped greatly on how much she loved children. But she also definitely has a motherly personality towards all babies or anything small. She feels like she has to take care of it. That's just who she is. Lucian couldn't care less about kids. He actually just kind of ignored them and didn't pay no attention to them. Gypsy's kind of like that too, but she's also very kind of fearful of them. You can see that she doesn't want to be around any kids, even the ones she knows. She doesn't want to be around them. She's like, that's okay, they can stay at the distance. Clea used to be great with kids, and then the older she got, it changed, and now I have to watch her. She has to accept the child before she socializes with them. Sully, we still don't know yet because we're still working on all his stuff. Cattle dogs in general don't really like to socialize outside of their their norm. They want to be around the people they know. So kids, like if you're expecting your cattle dog to go just randomly play with a bunch of kids, yes, there are exceptions. I know there's cattle dogs that will welcome all children onto their property. I've seen it. But they're a breed you have to be cautious with because they're a working breed. They're not a let's go hang out with a bunch of kids and have them jump on me and cuddle type breed, if that makes sense. And when you rescue a cattle dog, and if it's an older cattle dog, you can have a lot of issues with them trying to nip and herd your children because they don't know any better. They weren't trained. It depends on what they've been through and what they've been taught. And it just comes down to how much training you're willing to put into not only your cattle dog, but with your children on how to behave around the cattle dog. And if your kids don't listen to what you say, I would start your training there before you go out and get a cattle dog. But yes, even though I think cattle dogs can be exceptionally great with kids, just remember you have to be aware of all the herding and the nipping and the work drive, because that takes a lot of work to make everything work with kids. And that right there is probably why there's such a huge debate on whether or not cattle dogs are good with kids or bad with them, because the people that scream that they're bad with them are constantly screaming about, not screaming, but complaining about, you know, the cattle dogs bit my child, the cattle dogs keep attacking my kid. Well, kids don't know necessarily how to do bite inhibition training and all that stuff, or how to teach it to stop hurting them and herd something else. So that's why you have to be involved. I think that's why healers get such a bad rap with children, because it's the owner not putting forth the training they need to learn how to be around those kids. But again, I would always be cautious about where you take your healer out in public around kids. Watch their body language, stuff like that. But that is all for today's video. Sorry there was not much cattle dogs in the video. They're all pretty tuckered out from today. So, but remember to click all the buttons, click like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Cleo, what are your thoughts on children? Do you guys want to get dinner?